Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to do my best to use my teacher voice. My name is ThomasRayGarcia. I'm a Democrat running for the State Board of Education, District 2. This is a position that often you see on down ballot, and you often question, what does this position do? Especially now in this decade, we need to be able to pay attention to what's happening in our classrooms, and the main way to do that is through the State Board of Education. This district covers 14 counties, almost 2 million people. And what you should know about this position and why I'm running for it is that we see a lot of issues happening right now in the teaching profession. We have teachers burning out. We have students suffering with the post-pandemic, with how do we get out, how do we actually make sure our students are getting out of high school, college ready, workforce ready, or military ready, but they're struggling with mental health. In our classrooms, we're still trying to pretend it's an ordinary academic year despite the fact that our students are still wearing masks, there's plexiglass everywhere, and people are suffering right now. There's a lot of pain in our classrooms, and I've been seeing this over the past couple of years. In my race, I am the only candidate who's actually been teaching in the classrooms, trying to help students get to college. The reason I'm in this race is because at the State Board of Education, I know that I can stop filling in gaps, I can start closing them. We set graduation requirements. When it comes to moving away from the STAR test, we often say that test doesn't do much, it doesn't really measure student success. What then do we move toward? That is what we can do at the State Board of Education. We can set the standards for saying now we're going to move toward computer science courses in the 21st century. We can help our students learn digital literacy, so when they're on the internet in a practical setting, they can spot fake information from real information. They can actually do project-based learning, service learning that actually makes an impact in the community. Dual language, they can graduate high school actually knowing a second language. Ethnic studies, learning comprehensive history, Mexican American studies, African American studies. These are just a few examples I've been campaigning on of the possibilities we can move toward in this state. I wasn't supposed to be where I am today. I almost fell through the cracks. And there are 5.4 million students in this state who are at risk of falling through the cracks, not just because of the pandemic, but because of a lack of leadership from the top down, from the governor to the State Board of Education to our local school boards. And it's not any one individual's fault, it's the broken system. And I know this very well. I come from a single parent household. I come from a low income background. I was the first in my family to go to college. And on paper, I wasn't supposed to get a lot of support and opportunities. If you just saw me on the page, you would have thought, well, he might graduate high school, he might go off and get a good job somewhere, maybe, but don't waste a lot of time on it. We have limited resources here at this big school. I graduated with 500 seniors, and when I found out certain opportunities that were hard to get, like applying to college in the first place, applying to financial aid, trying to win scholarships. So if I did get to college, at least I could afford it and not burden my family with that. I found it out an opportunity when I was a freshman in high school on my own. If I were to apply to an Ivy League school and actually get in, they would cover everything. Not through a scholarship, but through financial aid, because I was coming from a low-income background. That one piece of information and the support my counselors and teachers gave me all those 4 years, sending me off to volunteer opportunities, to leadership opportunities, to anything that could make me stand out and develop me into that person who could be college ready. That was what inspired me to click submit in the first place, and by pure hard work and luck, getting into Princeton University. I never forgot where I came from. When I was done with my first semester on the East Coast, I saw a lot of the same systemic issues that I was going through in high school. Big classes, overburdened teachers and counselors, not enough awareness about the opportunities out there affecting my friends in high school. I was only 19, but I didn't want to wait until I graduated from college to try to fix this broken system. I came back to my alma mater school district every summer to host college access lessons. That was the beginning of my current work, teaching students how to write essays, how to tell their stories, to feel proud of where they come from, how to apply to financial aid so they can get the money they deserve to go to college, how to win scholarships, how to become leaders. All of that became my lessons, my curriculum. That became my first high school course after graduating from college. I worked at Far San Juan Alamo ISD as a high school teacher, creating this course from the ground up, doing dual language, doing ethnic studies, doing service learning in my classroom. Everything I'm fighting for in this campaign, I have put into practice in the past in my classroom, and today, through my nonprofit organization, partnering with local school districts in the Rio Grande Valley, going to multiple schools in person and over Zoom throughout the pandemic, and trying to fill in gaps where I can. We teach, but we also grant scholarships. And when students get to college, we train them to become near-peer mentors so they can come back just like I did and help that next high school senior who's going to their college soon make sure they don't fall through the cracks. You see a theme of trying to just do what we can with the limited resources and authority we can, one person at a time, one classroom at a time, one school at a time. The reason I'm running for this race is that I was sick and tired of feeling powerless throughout the pandemic. And to this day, there's still anxiety over, am I doing enough? This campaign has given me the vehicle to meet all of you, to travel throughout the 14 counties, to meet like-minded individuals who care about the future of this state and realize it starts in the classroom with our youth. It gives me the opportunity to actually do something about closing gaps now, not just filling them in. At the State Board of Education, I want to accomplish expanding mental health resources, not just telling the local school districts, use your local property tax money or ESSER funds that are going to run out next year. We need state funding for that. We need someone who's going to be loud at the state legislature saying, here's why you got to fund mental health programs, and here's how we can implement it on the ground. We need curricular standards that move towards something, not just saying cancel the STAR, which we should, but also moving towards something possible that actually moves us forward. Making sure we can reopen schools safely. We listen to the teachers and the educators on the ground. I'm proud to be endorsed by Texas AFT, AFL-CIO, because I listen to the educators and the laborers on the ground. I haven't forgotten where I come from. When my mom used to come home after a 10-hour workday and tell me I had to fight for everything on my own at the convenience store, I remember that. And I see that too often today with our educators and our school workers, and that shouldn't be the case if we're trying to call them heroes and relying on them to educate our future. We need someone who can stand up for all of our school workers, and I'm willing to do that at the State Board of Education if you were to give me that chance. I'm here to raise awareness about the power of this position, but also about the power each of us can have to and through this campaign, win or lose. I'm talking about the power of becoming conscious of what the State Board of Education can do, and also getting our young people, high school age, college age, more involved in the civic process. So I thank you all for coming out. The big next step, though, is what do we do next? Early voting starts next week. I would deeply appreciate your vote. But beyond that, how can we engage young people, especially the future of our state, to become more active civic participants? Yes, voting, but also getting more involved at the State Board of Education. When you look at these meetings that they live stream on the TEA website, Texas Education Agency, overwhelmingly the people whose voices are heard are special interest groups, people who get paid to go up to Austin to give these speeches. I never see young people talk about what I've been seeing going on in the classroom. The whole reason I'm in this race is a year ago I was Zooming with one of my former students who was in their car, homeless. They had COVID. They were at the lowest point in their life, and all they told me was, I'm just so glad you're here with me to just listen and just appreciate that we're here together. I did what I could to help that one student with COVID relief, with a laptop, just being there for them to try to help them. That one student that I knew that so many more were going through very similar problems. That student should be heard at the State Board of Education. Students like that should not have to be crying out for help like that. And we should be able to give them a platform, whether it's physically up in Austin or through the State Board of Education, which I hope to be as a loud advocate, to make sure their needs and concerns are heard, that everybody feels listened and learned, and listened and heard. I want to listen and learn from everybody. That's what I'm here to do. It was a pleasure to meet most of you. If I haven't met you yet, I want to do that right now. And beyond today, I hope we can work together to raise awareness about not only this position, but also the power each of us has in our civic democracy, to make sure that every single one of us can stand up and fight back for what we believe in, because we know what needs to happen in our classrooms. We know that things aren't working right now. I'm just a 28-year-old from the Rio Grande Valley trying to make that difference, and I thank you for giving me the chance to speak and to meet all of you. I would deeply appreciate your vote, but more so, get someone else up to vote, someone who hasn't been actively engaged in the process. Tell them more about the State Board of Education. Everybody knows someone in a school, or knows a parent with a child in a school, or maybe you know a teacher who's going through some of these issues. Let's get them involved. I'm more than willing to have a conversation with them. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak.